We've also got Nikki Lomax here. She's helping us out with the interview today. She's a politics honours student, and she's looking after the Twitter stream, and she's adding in any other questions and so forth. So I'll pass over to Nikki.
We haven't actually had any questions on the Twitter stream, but I have one.
Come on.
Do you have any children?
I do, Nikki.
Because you know how a few years ago the Chief Justice, the Prime Minister, and the Governor General were all women? Am I right that none of them had children? Do you know?
Oh, I'm pretty sure the Chief Justice does, doesn't she?
It just feels like a lot of the time when women are in positions of power, they have to kind of make sacrifices about their personal life, like not able to raise a family necessarily because of the demands. And I was just wondering what you thought about that.
Well, I don't agree that that's not possible for women to have top careers and to have a family. I'm really pleased I had a family. I'm the mother of a daughter and a stepmother of 3 sons, and now I'm a grandmother. And quite a new grandmother, and you know that old saying, if I knew how great it was to be a grandmother, I would have missed out being the mother. But no, I think you can combine both. I started off my political career as a sole parent. What I found was that I did need to have strong support from within my own party, within my own organisation at an electorate level, and in my family, and I believe it is possible, and I don't think it's something that we should point the finger at those who do or do not have children. That's a choice. And I also know quite a lot of people who can't have children, and they feel very deeply when people point fingers at them and say, you know, well, they didn't have children, therefore they know nothing about families. We all, or most of us, have other parts of our family: nieces, nephews, aunties, uncles, grandparents, and so on.
Okay, has anyone else in the audience got any questions around this area? Or on moral questions, personal life? No? Okay, so it sounds to me like you might have some sort of what I would call social conservatism, some of these moral issues, and some really social liberal attitudes, quite a mix. What about drugs? Should we legalise marijuana?
No, I wouldn't legalise marijuana as such, but I think there is a case for personal use and a small amount for personal use. But I wouldn't go full out to legalise it, mainly because it is just as carcinogenic in terms of health issues as tobacco, and so I wouldn't for that reason. We're not going to neither are we going to have prohibition on tobacco. I think what really does work is a really strong public health approach, long-term change with legislation, education.
So you're happy with the status quo? Is that what you're saying, that it works in effect? Is that what
the status quo, I think it's fair to say that people smoking small amounts of marijuana are not dealing in it. Not a lot of notice is taken of them these days.
Okay. Getting back to what drives you and how you think, what other political ideologies or what labels? I know politicians don't like labels, you run a mile from them, but are there any other ones that you think that are apt for you? You've said centre-left, left-winger, socialist, feminist? Sorry to throw these at you, but...
I don't actually like a whole lot of labels. I think that can put people in boxes, and people can be all sorts of things.
I know.
I think I'm pretty left-wing on social issues. I think that I am a feminist, but I don't go around wearing badges. I think that you are what you are, and you are very much a product of your upbringing and your education. And I was lucky enough to have a fantastic childhood, and lucky enough to go off to university after I'd drilled a few teeth, and to take political science as a degree, which certainly helped me.
Good, we'll come back to that, but we've got a burning question over here from Nikki.
Nikki? What you thought about the Slutwalk in terms of, like you said you're a feminist, I'm just wondering what you think.
I was invited on the Slutwalk, but I was in Auckland at something else, and I would have gone on that walk, mainly because I think that women should be allowed to dress as they wish. I don't believe that we should be told that we have to dress in a particular way to suit other people's views.
Does that affect you in Parliament? Like, because I remember I was really little, so I don't really remember it. There was an MP who got in trouble for wearing big earrings. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
No,
yes.
She wasn't an MP. She was the chief executive of Work and Income, and I think it might have been her boss, or the State Services Commission, wasn't it? Or
That's right.
It was Mark Preble, I think, if I
Preble,
remember.
yeah. Had a problem with the way she presented herself
Yes.
in various ways, yeah.
No, I think, look around this room, women have dressed as they like, good on them. I don't think that's an issue. And why should it be an issue?
Okay, so back to personal life. Do you have religious views, faith of any sort?
No, I am an atheist, but I do attend practically every faith in my own electorate when I'm invited. I'm invited from Christian churches to my mosque. I go to the Cambodian temple. Okay. They invite me as a local member. I'm pleased to participate. I'm pleased to do what I can to help, but I don't have my own views. As
an atheist in Parliament, what do you think of the opening prayer that they have in Parliament in the debating chamber, and all the sort of little religious parts like that, and which is part of political life? It seems a bit odd.
It's been there for forever.
Yeah.
I personally would change it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. There could be a nice poem that perhaps reflects the Parliament, but it's there. It's been thought about to change in the past, but there's been no real push to change it. So as we do in society, you and I certainly do accept a broad range of views.
Okay. So you mentioned having a political science background. What's that about? Where did you study, and why? And did it help you?
Yeah.
I hope you say yes.
Yes. Well, I'm going to say yes, but I have to step back a bit. I trained as a school dental nurse, and I hope there's nobody out there whose teeth I did. But I trained in Christchurch as a school dental nurse, and then my first husband became a scientist at Ruakura in Hamilton, and I went back to work after I'd had my daughter, and my first husband encouraged me to go to university. So I did my first year extramurally at Massey, and then we shifted to Hamilton. And between 4 and 6 each night of the week, I could do study at university at Waikato. So then I had to choose what I wanted, politics and what else fitted around it. So it looks a bit like a dog's breakfast, my degree, but my major was in political science.
Okay. You did political science, I guess, because you're in the Labour Party, you were involved in politics.
And I was also involved in the union of the dental nurses at that stage. And we had quite a strong, growing union background for school dental nurses. The people here probably don't remember it, but in the 70s, actually under the third Labour government, dental nurses from all around in New Zealand marched on Parliament, unheard of, because we had not had a pay increase for 21 years. We'd had cost of living adjustments on relativities, old relativities they had in pay scales in those days, but we'd not had a pay increase in our own right. And something like 1,000 dental nurses in full dress uniforms, including veils that we wore in those days, marched from the old town hall to Parliament. And Norman Kirk stamped the pay increase on the spot, and we flew home. So I'd got very involved in politics from a union perspective, but also in the Labour Party. Okay. And that did certainly help me to decide on doing political science. I had some fantastic teachers at Waikato.
Like, can you remember any of them?
Laurie Barber. Okay. I don't know whether you've read any of Laurie's stuff. Theo Roy.
Yes.
But then I finished my degree in Vic, actually. Rod Alley and Stephen Levine, who's still sending students to me. Yes. I have interns in my office, I think probably every year, which is fantastic for me and hopefully good for students. Also, who else was there? But anyway, wonderful teachers that I really did enjoy that degree.
Okay, we've got another burning question from Nikki Lomax.
Just on the Twitter sphere, Women's Refuge support proposed child monitoring. Why don't you?
Oh yes. So this is recent thing proposed by National, is it?
No, I don't actually think Women's Refuge is talking about the same thing. I have no problems with us ensuring that we have every child in New Zealand enrolled with a well child provider, and that's Plunkett or any other World Child provider, that we have a universal approach to that every child has access to World Child providers, and that we do have the data that is collected shared with other child health professionals. So I have no problem with that, so that we actually can follow from Plunkett to early childhood education to the doctor to whatever. And I think you'll find that the Women's Refuge think along the same lines.
Another question from Twitter. Do you trust polls or just not the latest particular polls?
Do I trust polls?
So opinion polls.
Opinion polls. Well, there is such a huge variation in them, isn't there? And you know, David Clark and I went and had a cup of coffee when I arrived here, and sitting next to us at a table was a guy who recognised David Clark and said, "I'm Labor." He said, "I don't trust these polls." Okay. He said, "They've never asked me. They've never asked anybody I know. They never asked working people or middle class people." So. What I do know is that I've been at the bottom of a poll and I've been at the top of a poll, and quite a lot of places in between, and I've seen huge shifts in polls over time.
Do you think we have too many polls and we're getting a bit too fixated on polls? I mean, of course you're going to say we are, because maybe Labor's doing badly, but it does seem to me that we seem to have a poll out.
That's very subjective.
Okay, no, I am very subjective.
I've told you so.
Yeah, yes, yeah, a number of times. But we do seem to have avalanche of polls coming through at the moment, and they do maybe affect us a bit too much as voters, perhaps. What do you think?
Well, I think that newspapers these days want to sell them, and a poll gives you about 3 days of reporting on your poll. Take the Fairfax poll in the Dom Post. That poll today, you'd be interested to know what they polled on and what they reported on. So yesterday we announced policy in terms of youth skills and so on. Page 2 is the political page of the Dom Post. There's a big photograph of John Key with a baby, and they'd polled to see who New Zealanders would like to be a babysitter. So sometimes you have to say their polls don't really hit the mark.
Well, I guess that's quite a quirky poll question.
Well, there's several other questions as well, you know, who would you have for dinner and so on. But is that really what politics is about? Is it? I don't think so. I mean,
well,
sure.